Welcome to Monk's Temple. Settle in wherever you are right now, whether you're sitting up or lying down, and let your awareness gently arrive in this space. There's nowhere you need to be in this moment, nothing you need to achieve. Simply notice the feeling of being here, the gentle rhythm of your breath continuing its quiet work, the subtle sensations in your hands and feet. The world outside can wait. For now, let's just be here together, exploring something ancient and deeply relevant to your life today. I want to invite you into a particular kind of stillness, one that isn't about emptiness but about profound presence. For over 2.5 millennia, the Buddha's teachings have pointed toward a fundamental truth about human experience. Our mornings don't just start our days, they shape our minds, and our minds shape our entire reality. There's a sacredness to those first quiet hours that we've largely forgotten in our modern rush toward productivity. But what if I told you that within those simple moments after waking lies the key to transforming not just your day, but the very quality of your life? The wisdom we'll explore today isn't about adding more to your already full plate. It's about remembering something you've always known but may have forgotten in the noise of daily life. It's about returning to a natural state of balance and clarity. And it begins with understanding that your mind is not a problem to be solved, but a landscape to be understood and gently tended. Let me share a story that changed my perspective on mornings forever. Several years ago, I found myself in a period of deep burnout. I was following all the conventional advice, waking up early, exercising, eating well, but I felt like I was running on a treadmill that kept speeding up. One autumn, I traveled to a remote monastery, not with any grand spiritual seeking, but simply because I needed to escape. The first morning there, I was awakened not by an alarm, but by the sound of a single bell ringing in the distance. I got up and looked out my window to see dozens of monks walking silently in the pre-dawn darkness to the meditation hall. There was no rush. No anxiety. Just deliberate, peaceful movement. Later, I asked the oldest monk there, a man with kind eyes and a quiet presence, what their secret was. He smiled and said something I'll never forget: we don't try to conquer the morning. We learn to greet it as a friend who has traveled far to visit us. That simple shift in perspective, from conquering to greeting, opened a door in my understanding that has never closed. In Buddhism, this approach to beginnings is deeply woven into the fabric of the teachings. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of how we start our mental and physical days. He understood that the first thoughts we entertain, the first actions we take, set in motion patterns that ripple through all that follows. But this isn't about rigid discipline or another self-improvement protocol. It's about cultivating a relationship with your own experience that's based in kindness, awareness, and intelligent choice. Before we explore specific practices, I want to invite you into a brief exercise. Don't worry about doing it perfectly, there's no perfect here. Just follow along in your imagination. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or simply soften your gaze. Now, imagine it's tomorrow morning. You're just waking up. The light is gentle through your window. Instead of reaching immediately for your phone or jumping into planning mode, you pause. You take 3 conscious breaths. With the first breath, you acknowledge, I am here. With the second breath, you release the hold of sleep and dreams. With the third breath, you create a small space of possibility around you. That's all. Just 3 breaths of presence before the world claims your attention. Can you feel how that simple act might change the texture of your entire morning? This brings us to our first core practice, though I want to approach it from a slightly different angle than you might expect. We often hear about mindfulness as something we need to practice, but what if it's more about remembering a capacity you already possess? What if mindfulness is your natural state when you're not caught in remembering the past or anticipating the future? There's a beautiful metaphor in Buddhist psychology that compares the mind to a clear mountain lake. When undisturbed, the lake perfectly reflects the sky, the trees, the clouds, everything with crystal clarity. But when winds of worry, planning, and remembering stir the surface, the reflection becomes distorted. Our morning practice isn't about stopping the wind, that's impossible. It's about learning to descend below the disturbed surface to where the water is always still. That still place exists within you right now, beneath the thoughts about what you need to do later, beneath the memories of yesterday. Let me share another original story about this. A friend of mine is a marine biologist who studies deep ocean currents. She once told me about a phenomenon that occurs even during the most violent hurricanes. While the surface of the ocean is churned into 40-foot waves, just 100 feet below, the water is almost completely calm. The storm doesn't penetrate that deep. She said, "We spend our lives identifying with the surface waves of our emotions and thoughts, forgetting that we have access to the deep, calm waters beneath." That insight transformed her approach to stress and anxiety. She began visualizing herself descending beneath the stormy surface of her mind whenever she felt overwhelmed. She found that place of calm wasn't something she needed to create, it was already there, waiting to be remembered. This is precisely what we're doing in our morning practice, remembering the depth beneath the surface. And one of the most direct ways to access this depth is through conscious breathing. Now, I know you've probably heard about mindful breathing before, but I want to approach it not as a technique but as a homecoming. Your breath is the most intimate relationship you have. It's been with you since your first moment of life and will stay with you until your last. It happens without your conscious effort, yet you can consciously participate in it. It's the bridge between your voluntary and involuntary nervous systems, between your body and mind. In the Buddha's teachings, the breath is called the body's innate wisdom. It knows exactly what your system needs in each moment if you simply listen. Here's a practice you might try tomorrow morning. When you first wake up, before you even open your eyes, place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Don't try to change your breathing. Just feel the gentle rise and fall. Notice how your heart and belly synchronize in this gentle rhythm. Stay here for just 1 minute. In that minute, you're not doing mindfulness, you're being mindfulness. You're inhabiting the awareness that was there all along, waiting beneath the clutter of thought. The science behind this is fascinating. Research shows that conscious breathing activates the vagus nerve, which is like the main cable of your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode. It tells your primitive brain, we're safe. We can relax. This creates a physiological foundation for mental calm that lasts for hours. But beyond the science, there's something even more profound happening. You're establishing a fundamental truth: your peace is not dependent on external circumstances. It's accessible through this simple, always available anchor. Now, I'd like to share a personal anecdote about how this practice transformed a difficult period in my life. A few years back, I went through a sudden career transition that left me feeling unmoored and anxious. Mornings were particularly hard. I'd wake up with a knot of dread in my stomach. One particularly difficult morning, I remembered the breathing practice. I lay in bed, hand on heart, and simply observed my breath for what felt like an eternity, though it was probably 3 minutes. I didn't try to make the anxiety go away. I just breathed with it. And something shifted. The anxiety didn't disappear, but it was no longer me. It became a weather pattern passing through the sky of my awareness. That was the beginning of understanding that morning practice isn't about fixing ourselves, but about changing our relationship to our experience. This understanding leads us naturally to our next exploration, gratitude. But I want to approach gratitude not as something we do, but as something we discover already present when we look with clear eyes. In the Buddhist tradition, gratitude isn't a passive feeling of thankfulness for the good things. It's an active recognition of interdependence, the profound truth that nothing exists in isolation. Your morning cup of tea or coffee connects you to farmers across the world, to rain and soil, to truck drivers and shopkeepers. When you drink it with this awareness, you're not just consuming a beverage, you're participating in a web of connection that spans the globe. Tomorrow morning, as you hold your warm mug, try this: pause for just 10 seconds before your first sip. Look at the liquid. Consider its journey to you. Feel the warmth penetrating your hands. Then take that first sip with full attention. Notice how this simple act of presence transforms an ordinary moment into a sacred one. This is gratitude in action, not as a list of things to be thankful for, but as a quality of attention that reveals the miraculous in the mundane. If this way of approaching your morning resonates with you, this gentle remembering of depths already present within you, I invite you to subscribe to Monk's Temple. By subscribing, you're not just signing up for more content, you're joining a community of people committed to living with greater awareness and peace. It's our shared space to explore these timeless principles together, supporting each other and remembering what matters most. Now, let's continue to part 2, where we'll explore how setting intentions can become not just a mental exercise, but a way of aligning with your deepest values from the moment you open your eyes. Let's continue. Find your comfortable position again. Allow your body to settle. Perhaps notice the gentle rhythm of your breathing, the rise and fall of your chest, the feeling of being here, now, without needing to be anywhere else. In this space of quiet presence, we turn our attention to a practice that is often misunderstood but holds transformative power, the art of setting intentions. In our modern world, we're taught to set goals. Concrete, measurable, time-bound objectives. And there's certainly value in that. But in the Buddha's teachings, there's a subtler, more foundational practice that comes before goal setting. It's called right intention, or Samma Sankappa in Pali, and it forms the second step on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right intention isn't about what you want to accomplish, it's about the quality of heart and mind you wish to cultivate as you move through your accomplishments and your failures alike. It's the inner compass setting, not the destination plotting. Imagine you're about to embark on a journey. You could focus entirely on the map, the route, the estimated time of arrival, the goals. Or, you could first check the condition of your vehicle, the clarity of your windshield, the fuel in your tank, and, most importantly, your state of mind as a driver. Are you anxious? Rushed? Distracted? Or are you calm, present, and attentive? Setting an intention is this latter act. It's preparing the driver, not just plotting the course. A calm, present driver on a muddy road will have a very different experience than a frantic, distracted driver on a pristine highway. The intention determines the quality of the journey, regardless of the road conditions. I learned this not from a book, but from watching my grandmother tend her rose garden. Every morning, without fail, she would walk out with her cup of tea, not to do anything immediately, but just to stand and look. She called it, listening to the garden. I asked her once what she was listening for. She said, "I'm listening to understand what it needs today. Does it need gentle encouragement? Does it need me to step back and let it be? Is it a day for watering, or for simply appreciating the bloom?" She wasn't following a rigid schedule. She was setting an intention for her relationship with the garden each day. Her gardening wasn't a chore, it was a dialogue. This, I later realized, was a perfect embodiment of right intention. She wasn't forcing an outcome, she was aligning her actions with a quality of care. So how do we translate this into our morning ritual? It begins with a simple, quiet question, asked after you've anchored yourself with a few conscious breaths. Ask yourself, what quality do I wish to nurture in myself today? Not, what do I need to get done, but, how do I wish to be as I go about getting things done? Perhaps today, the quality is patience. Your intention might be, today, I will meet delays and interruptions with patience. With that intention set in the quiet of the morning, your mind is primed. When you're stuck in traffic later, instead of the usual frustration, a part of you remembers, this is my practice ground for patience. The traffic hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. It's no longer just an obstacle, it's an opportunity to cultivate the very quality you intended to nurture. Maybe the quality is presence. Your intention, today, I will bring my full attention to whomever I am speaking with. With that intention set, when you're in a conversation later and your mind starts to drift to your to-do list, that intention acts like a gentle bell, calling you back to the person in front of you. The intention becomes your touchstone, your way back to yourself. The Buddha taught that intentions are the forerunners of all actions. They are the seeds from which our speech, our behaviors, and our habits grow. A morning spent setting a conscious, positive intention is like preparing fertile soil and choosing a good seed. The rest of the day then becomes the process of tending that seed, protecting it from the weeds of reactive anger, mindless speech, and distracted action. Let me share a story about a man named Leo, a middle school teacher in a challenging urban district. Leo was on the verge of quitting. He felt disrespected, exhausted, and ineffective. His mornings were a blur of stress, gulping coffee while reviewing lesson plans, his mind already braced for conflict. In a last-ditch effort, he attended a weekend workshop on mindfulness. There, he was introduced to the idea of setting a daily intention. Skeptical but desperate, he tried it. The next Monday, before leaving his car in the school parking lot, he took 1 minute. He breathed, and set this intention, today, I will look for 1 moment of genuine connection with a student. That's all. Not, I will manage my classroom perfectly. Just, connection. He said the entire day felt different. He was calmer. He found himself noticing small things, a student's new haircut, another's quiet effort on a difficult problem. He complimented them. He didn't force it. Because he was looking for it, he saw it. At the end of the day, he realized there hadn't been a single major behavioral blow-up. The atmosphere in his room had been lighter. He had changed his inner posture, and the outer world reflected it back. He now begins every school day with that 1-minute intention setting in his car. It didn't solve all his problems, but it changed his experience of them entirely. It gave him back his agency. This practice works because of how our brains are wired. We have a filtering system called the reticular activating system, RAS. Its job is to sift through the millions of bits of information hitting our senses every second and decide what's important enough to bring to our conscious attention. It operates largely based on what we believe is important. When you set a clear intention like connection or patience, you are essentially programming your RAS. You're telling your brain, this is important. Show me evidence of this. And it will. You will start to notice opportunities for patience where before you only saw annoyances. You'll notice possibilities for connection where before you saw barriers. Your intention shapes your perception, and your perception shapes your reality. Now let's weave this together with our breath anchor. Here is a simple 5-minute morning sequence you can experiment with. For minute 1 and 2, simply arrive. Sit on the edge of your bed. Place your hands on your knees or in your lap. Close your eyes. Take 10 slow deep breaths. Do not control them too much. Just follow them. Feel yourself landing in your body. For minute 3, inquire. Ask that gentle question, what quality does my heart need today? Do not think too hard. Let the first word that arises be enough. Trust it. It might be peace, strength, curiosity, joy, or ease. For minute 4, embody. Take that word, your intention, and breathe it in. On your next inhale, imagine breathing in that very quality. As you exhale, imagine sending that quality to every cell in your body. Do this for 3 breaths. For minute 5, commit. Silently say to yourself, today I will nurture your chosen word. May this intention guide my steps. Then open your eyes and begin your physical morning carrying that inner orientation with you. This practice moves intention setting from a purely mental exercise into a somatic, felt experience. You're not just thinking a thought. You're planting it in the soil of your awareness and watering it with your attention. This brings us to a companion of intention, a force that naturally arises when we slow down and look clearly, gratitude. But as we explore gratitude next, I invite you to consider it not as a separate practice, but as the natural light that fills the room when you've opened the curtains of intention. When you intend to be present, you naturally become grateful for the present moment. When you intend to be patient, you become grateful for the grace that patience brings. A quick personal story on how intention and gratitude became intertwined for me. I used to dread long, tedious drives to visit family. I'd see them as wasted time, empty hours to be endured. Then, I started setting a simple intention for those drives: I will be a curious observer of the journey. The next time I drove, something shifted. Instead of just highway, I noticed the changing geology, the architecture of the barns, the way the light hit the hills at different times of day. I started feeling grateful for the sheer privilege of movement, of seeing so much of the country, of having a warm car and music I loved. The dread transformed into a kind of pilgrim's appreciation. The intention, be curious, directly gave birth to the gratitude. One flowed from the other. In the Buddha's teachings, this is the natural order. Wise intention, Samma Sankappa, supports and leads to wise mindfulness, Samma Sati. A mind oriented toward qualities like non-harm, compassion, and renunciation, letting go of clinging, is a mind naturally more open, clear, and grateful. It sees more because it is looking with kinder eyes. So tomorrow, after you breathe, ask your heart what it needs to nurture. Plant that seed of intention. Then, as you move into your day, brushing your teeth, making breakfast, commuting, Let that intention be your quiet companion. Notice how it colors your experiences. You are not just moving through your day, you are consciously shaping the consciousness with which you meet your day. This conscious shaping naturally invites us to bring awareness to the very instrument that moves us through the world, our body. And so, in our next part, we will explore how mindful movement becomes a beautiful, physical expression of the intention we've set, a way of making our inner orientation tangible through gentle, sacred motion. Let us continue this journey inward, this gentle exploration of morning's sacred potential. Settle once more. Feel the weight of your body supported by the chair, the floor, the bed. Notice the silent conversation happening within you, the pulse of blood, the whisper of breath, the hum of aliveness. We've anchored with the breath. We've set our inner compass with intention. Now, let us turn our attention to the vessel that carries this precious awareness through the world, your body. In the rush of modern life, we often treat our bodies as vehicles, or worse, as obstacles. We criticize them, push them, ignore their signals until they scream in protest. We live from the neck up, as if our thinking minds are the only real part of us, piloting a clumsy machine made of flesh and bone. But the Buddhist teachings offer a radically different, and far more compassionate, view. The body is not a machine. It is a temple. It is the very ground of our experience, the interface through which we know the world. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha's foundational discourse on mindfulness, the very first foundation he establishes is mindfulness of the body. Not the mind first, but the body. Because the body is always in the present moment. It cannot be in yesterday's argument or tomorrow's meeting. It can only be right here, right now, feeling this breath, this sensation, this posture. So, mindful movement in the morning is not about exercise in the conventional sense. It is not about burning calories or building muscle for aesthetics. It is about communion. It is about waking up the temple, room by room, with respectful attention. It is about re-inhabiting yourself after a night of absence, greeting your limbs, your spine, your heartbeat as old friends. It is the physical expression of the intention you set. If your intention was peace, then movement becomes a slow, peaceful exploration of sensation. If your intention was strength, it becomes a mindful acknowledgement of the power and support your body offers you. Let me tell you a story about a potter I met in a small village. Every morning, before he touched a lump of clay, he would perform a slow, ritualistic washing of his hands at the outdoor pump. He didn't just scrub quickly. He would let the cool water run over each finger, each knuckle, the palms, the wrists, watching the water drip, feeling the temperature. He told me, "My hands are my bridge to the earth. The clay speaks to them. If my hands are rushed, the clay feels it, and the pot will be anxious. If my hands are present and grateful, the pot will have peace in its curves." His morning movement, the washing, was his way of bringing his consciousness fully into the instruments of his creation. It was a sacred preparation. Our morning movement can be the same. It is our way of washing the sleep from our awareness, of bringing our consciousness fully into the instrument of our life. With this perspective, even the simplest movement becomes a meditation. You don't need a yoga mat or 30 minutes. You can begin while you are still in bed. Here is a practice for the first moments of wakefulness, a practice of feeling before doing. Before you open your eyes, bring your awareness to your toes. Just feel them. Wiggle them slightly. Acknowledge these are my toes, they have carried me through my life. Slowly move your awareness up to your feet, your ankles, your calves. Feel the weight of the blankets. Feel the vitality humming there. Continue this journey up through your knees, your thighs, your hips. With each region simply feel. No judgment, just sensing. Move to your belly, your chest, feeling the gentle rise and fall with your breath. Then to your fingers, hands, arms, shoulders. Finally to your neck, your face, the crown of your head. This whole scan can take 2 minutes. In those 2 minutes, you are not thinking about your body, you are feeling it. You are reclaiming it from the realm of concept and idea and returning to the direct, wordless experience of being embodied. You are, quite literally, coming to your senses. Now, as you rise, you can continue this communion. Let the first steps you take toward the bathroom be a walking meditation. Feel the coolness of the floor. Notice the subtle shift of weight from heel to ball to toes. Be curious about the miracle of balance, of locomotion. You are not just going to brush your teeth, you are practicing sacred ambulation. If you have a few more minutes, you might incorporate a simple, gentle stretch. Not to achieve a perfect pose, but to explore the language of your muscles and joints. Reach your arms overhead as if gathering the new day's light. Gently twist from side to side, as if wringing out the stiffness of sleep. Bend forward, letting your head hang heavy, offering the back of your neck to gravity. In each movement, breathe into the sensation. If there is tightness, meet it not with force, but with compassionate breath, as if breathing space into a crowded room. The science here is profoundly supportive. This kind of mindful movement, studies show, increases proprioception, your brain's map of your body in space. This reduces clumsiness and risk of injury. It floods your system with oxygen and blood flow, sharpening mental clarity. It triggers the release of endorphins, gentle mood elevators. But beyond the biochemistry, it performs a deeper alchemy. It reunites the mind that plans with the body that feels. It heals the fracture we so often live within. I remember a period in my life when I worked a deeply sedentary job, hunched over a computer for 10 hours a day. I developed chronic back pain and a foggy, disconnected feeling. My mornings were a stiff shuffle from bed to desk. A physiotherapist, after assessing me, gave me a strange prescription. She said, "For the next 2 weeks, I don't want you to exercise. I want you to spend 5 minutes each morning, before you look at a screen, just moving in ways that feel good. Sway. Roll your shoulders. Stretch like a cat. No plan. Just listen and follow what feels nurturing." It felt silly at first. But I did it. And something broke open. The movement became a conversation. My body would say, "Tight here," and I would breathe and move into it. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but the relationship to it changed. The body went from being a painful problem to a communicative partner. Those 5 minutes of listening through movement became the most important part of my day. This is the heart of mindful movement, listening. Your body has a wisdom that predates language. It knows when it is tired, when it is energized, when it needs stillness, when it needs flow. The morning is the perfect time to tune into this ancient radio station, before the static of the day's demands drowns it out. Consider the story of a dancer named Anya. After a serious injury, she was told she might never dance professionally again. The grief was immense. Her mornings, once filled with vigorous warm-ups, were now empty and painful. A mentor suggested she try a different approach. To move not as a dancer, but as a human being rediscovering movement. So, each morning, she would sit on the floor of her studio. She would place her hands on her injured leg and just breathe, sending kindness to the scar tissue. Then, she would begin to move only what felt safe, a roll of her wrist, a tilt of her head, a gentle rock of her pelvis. There was no performance, no aesthetic goal. It was a meditation in motion. Over months, this practice not only aided her physical healing more than aggressive therapy had, but it transformed her art. When she returned to dance, it was with a depth of presence and emotional authenticity she had never before achieved. She told me, I had to lose dance to find movement. And in finding movement, I found a deeper dance. This is what we are invited into. Whether you are an athlete or someone who feels disconnected from their physical self, the morning offers a clean slate. It is a time to move not for an outcome, but for the sake of connection itself. So tomorrow, after you breathe and set your intention, gift yourself 5 minutes of mindful movement. It could be standing and gently swaying with your eyes closed. Slowly rolling your neck and shoulders. Seated cat-cow stretches on the edge of your bed. Simply walking mindfully around your room. Let it be slow. Let it be curious. Let your breath be the guide. If the mind judges, this is too simple, I look silly, thank the mind for its opinion and return to the sensation in your shoulder, the stretch in your side. You are not working out. You are waking in. You are reminding your nervous system that you are safe, present, and alive. This act of grounding into the body, of becoming fully present in the physical temple, creates a natural, stable foundation. And from this place of embodied stability, we can now engage with the world in a more conscious way. Our first daily engagement is often a fundamental one, we take in nourishment. So, in our next part, we will explore how the simple, vital act of eating can become one of our most profound morning practices, a ritual of gratitude, interconnection, and deep presence. Let us continue, settling deeper now into this space of gentle awakening. Feel the subtle pulse of your own life within you. We've anchored in the breath, set our inner compass, and awakened the temple of the body through conscious movement. Now, let us turn our attention to the first sacred exchange of the day, the act of nourishment. The moment when the outer world crosses the threshold to become a part of you. This is the practice of mindful eating, and in the quiet of the morning, it can become a meditation of profound depth and connection. In our hurried lives, eating has often been reduced to refueling. We eat while driving, while working, while scrolling through screens. Food becomes background noise, its taste barely registered, its origin a mystery wrapped in plastic. We consume calories, but we miss the communion. The Buddha's teachings invite us to restore the sacredness to this most basic act. For in Buddhism, to eat mindfully is to practice seeing the entire universe in your bowl. There is a principle called praditya samutpada, or dependent origination. It teaches that nothing exists independently, everything arises in dependence upon a vast, intricate web of causes and conditions. Your morning meal is perhaps the clearest, most tangible example of this truth you will encounter all day. That piece of toast. It contains the sun that warmed the wheat, the rain that quenched the soil, the miner who extracted the salt, the baker who woke before dawn, the truck driver who navigated the highways, the clerk who stocked the shelf. It contains the labor of insects, the turning of the earth, the history of agriculture. It is not a thing you are eating. It is a convergence of the entire cosmos, offered to you in a form you can receive. To eat mindfully, then, is to eat with this awareness. It is to participate consciously in a miracle, rather than sleepwalk through a chore. I want to share a story about a man named Henry, a retired train conductor I met years ago. He had traveled millions of miles, seen countless sunrises from the locomotive glass. In retirement, he developed a curious ritual. Every morning, he would prepare a single, perfect soft-boiled egg with a slice of buttered rye toast. But he would not eat it immediately. He would carry it to his small patio, sit down, and simply look at it for a full minute. When I asked him why, his eyes crinkled. "I'm saying hello," he said. "I'm acknowledging the chicken, the farmer, the grain in the field, the baker's hands. I spent my life rushing past the world. Now, I sit with it. I taste the journey in every bite." Henry wasn't just eating breakfast. He was practicing a form of deep, silent gratitude that honored the invisible threads connecting all life. His minute of looking was a prayer of recognition. This is where we begin, with seeing. Before your first bite tomorrow morning, I invite you to try this. Pause. Look at your food. Really see it. Notice its colors, its textures, its shape. See it not as a commodity, but as a visitor from the natural world, a gift that has traveled far to reach you. This simple act of pausing breaks the automatic pilot of consumption. It creates a space, a chapel of attention, around your meal. Now, engage the other senses. Lean in and smell it. What aromas rise to meet you? The earthy scent of oats, the bright acidity of fruit, the rich bitterness of coffee. Let the smell be an invitation, awakening your salivary glands, preparing your digestive system with intelligence. This is the body's innate wisdom responding to the promise of nourishment. Then, as you take the first bite, do so slowly. Place the food in your mouth and set the utensil down. This is perhaps the most revolutionary part of the practice, putting the fork down. It breaks the cycle of mechanical loading. Now, just chew. Notice the explosion of flavor, the changing textures as you chew. How many distinct tastes can you detect? Sweet, salty, sour, bitter, umami. Where on your tongue do you feel them? Be a scientist of your own sensory experience. Chew until the food is almost liquid. Not only does this dramatically improve digestion, beginning the enzymatic process properly in the mouth, but it allows you to fully receive the gift. You are extracting not just calories, but information, story, and life force. In this slowed-down space, gratitude arises not as a thought, but as a felt sense. It is the natural emotional response to truly receiving. You feel thankful for the warmth of the tea in your throat, the sweetness of the berry, the crunch of the almond. This is gratitude in the body, not just the mind. Let me share a personal experience from a silent meditation retreat. For the first 2 days, eating in silence felt awkward. I missed conversation, distraction. By the 3rd day, something shifted. Eating an apple became an epic event. I felt the cool, smooth skin. I heard the crisp, resonant crack as my teeth broke the surface. I tasted a symphony, initial tartness, followed by deep sweetness, subtle floral notes. I saw the intricate pattern of the seeds in their core. I was no longer eating an apple, I was in intimate, silent communion with appleness. It was one of the most satisfying meals of my life, and it was just a simple piece of fruit. It taught me that abundance is not measured by quantity, but by the depth of our attention. The benefits of this practice are supported from multiple angles. Physiologically, mindful eating improves digestion, helps regulate appetite by allowing satiety signals to reach the brain, which takes about 20 minutes, and can lead to healthier food choices. Psychologically, it reduces stress by anchoring you in a simple, pleasurable present moment activity. Spiritually, it is a direct training in interdependence and gratitude. But how do we do this on a busy morning? It doesn't require an hour. It requires a shift in priority. Here is a template for a mindful morning meal even if you only have 10 minutes. First, the pause for 30 seconds. Sit down. Before touching your food, take 3 conscious breaths. Look at your plate. Acknowledge the journey it represents. Second, the first bite ritual for 1 minute. Take 1 bite. Put your utensil or food down. Chew slowly with full attention. Let this first bite set the tone. Third, the rhythm for the remaining time. Continue eating at a pace that allows you to taste. Put your utensil down between bites. When your mind wanders to the day ahead, gently return it to the taste in your mouth. Fourth, the closing for 30 seconds. When you are finished, pause for a moment. Place your hands on your belly. Feel the warmth, the satisfaction. Silently offer thanks to your body for receiving, to the world for providing. This isn't about perfection. Some mornings will be rushed. The practice is in the intention to be present. Even one mindful bite is a victory. It is a whisper to your nervous system, this act matters. We are not just consuming, we are connecting. Consider the story of a busy software developer, Maya. She used to eat breakfast at her desk, staring at code, barely tasting her yogurt. She suffered from constant low-grade stomach upset and felt perpetually frantic. On a friend's suggestion, she committed to eating her breakfast at her small kitchen table, without her phone, for just 1 week. The first day was agonizing. The silence, the slowness felt wasteful. By the 3rd day, she noticed the creamy texture of the yogurt, the tartness of the berries. She started to feel a physical sense of calm spreading from her core as she ate. The stomach issues began to lessen. That 7-minute breakfast became a non-negotiable island of peace that actually made her more focused and less anxious when she did sit down at her computer. She realized she hadn't been giving her body a chance to properly register that it was being fed, so it lived in a state of background nutritional anxiety. This is the power of mindful eating. It tells your entire organism, you are safe. You are cared for. You are nourished. It completes the sacred cycle of receiving from the world with awareness and gratitude. From this place of being nourished, body and spirit. From this felt sense of being supported by a web of life, the heart naturally softens and opens. It becomes ready to extend the care it has received inward back outward into the world. This brings us to the beautiful, expansive practice that can truly transform your morning and your life, the cultivation of a compassionate heart. But that is a journey for our next part. Let us continue, moving now from the grounded, nourished stillness of the body into the vast landscape of the heart. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath, the quiet hum of your being. We have anchored, intended, moved, and nourished with presence. Now, we arrive at perhaps the most transformative gate of the morning, the cultivation of compassion. This is not merely a feeling, but a revolutionary way of relating, to yourself, to others, to the very fabric of your day. In the Buddha's teachings, compassion, karu, is one of the four immeasurables, qualities of the heart that can be grown boundlessly. It is defined as the heartfelt wish for beings to be free from suffering and its causes. Notice this, it is a wish, an intention of the heart. It is not about fixing everyone's problems, which is impossible and exhausting. It is about the fundamental orientation of your spirit. Do you meet pain, your own and others, with resistance and fear, or with a courageous, gentle willingness to be present with it? The morning is the time to set this orientation, to tune your heart's instrument to the key of kindness before the world begins to play its often discordant symphony. We often misunderstand compassion. We think it's a soft, passive sentiment. In truth, it is the strongest force in the world. It is the clear-eyed recognition of shared vulnerability, coupled with the fierce determination to not add to the world's harshness. Think of a mother who stays up all night with a feverish child. She is tired, but her love manifests as a steady, calm presence. She doesn't rage at the fever, she meets it with cooling cloths and soothing words. That is compassion in action, meeting suffering with a calm, caring response. Your morning compassion practice is about becoming that mother to your own inner life, and by extension, to the world you will meet. Let me share a story about a librarian named Eleanor. Her job was quiet, but her inner world was not. She was her own harshest critic, and she carried a low-grade resentment toward a difficult neighbor. Her mornings were filled with a mental review of her own faults and rehearsals of arguments she'd never have. A chance reading about metta, loving kindness, meditation led her to try a simple practice. Each morning while her tea steeped, she would stand at her kitchen window and repeat 3 phrases silently: "May I be at peace. May my neighbor be at peace. May all on this street be at peace." She felt foolish at first. Nothing changed externally. But after a few weeks, she noticed a shift within. The critical voice lost some of its power. It was now accompanied by a quieter voice saying, "You're doing okay." One morning, she saw her neighbor struggling with groceries. Without the old internal debate, she walked out and offered to help. The gruff thanks she received felt like a victory. Eleanor hadn't solved her problems or changed her neighbor. She had changed the climate of her own heart, and from that new climate, different actions naturally grew. This is the power of morning compassion practice. It is not about manufacturing a feeling. It is about clearing the weeds of ill will and self-judgment so that the native flowers of care can grow. The practice is like the sun, it doesn't command the flowers to bloom, it simply shines, and blooming becomes inevitable. The formal practice is called metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness. It is a methodical training of the heart muscle. And we can adapt it beautifully for the morning. Here is a gentle sequence. Start with yourself. After your mindful breathing, place a hand gently over your heart. Feel its beat, the warmth of your own touch. This is radical. We so often skip ourselves. Silently offer these phrases or your own feeling their meaning. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong. May I be happy and content. May I live with ease. Let the words sink in. If resistance arises, such as the thought "I do not deserve this," just note it and gently return to the phrases. You are not asking for a favor, you are planting a seed of friendship with yourself. Next, a benefactor. Bring to mind someone who has been unconditionally kind to you, a friend, a teacher, a pet, even a historical or spiritual figure. Picture them smiling. Offer them the same phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Feel the natural warmth of gratitude expanding into well-wishing. Then a neutral person. Think of someone you see regularly but do not know well, your barista, a bus driver, a colleague. Realize they too want to be happy and free from worry. Offer the phrases to them. This breaks down the illusion of stranger. Finally, all beings. Expand your awareness. From your room to your home, your street, your city, country, continent, the planet. To all creatures in forests, oceans, and skies. Send out a wide, gentle wave. May all beings everywhere be safe, healthy, happy, and live with ease. This whole practice can take 5 minutes. It recalibrates your inner atmosphere from one of default judgment to one of default kindness. You walk into your day literally wearing a heart of goodwill. Science now illuminates why this works. Studies show loving kindness meditation increases vagal tone, improving emotional regulation, reduces inflammation, and activates brain regions associated with empathy and positive emotion. It literally rewires your brain for resilience and connection. But beyond the neurons, it does something more profound. It reshapes your identity. You start to feel less like a fragile, separate self defending its territory, and more like a node in a web of caring. Your problems don't vanish, but they are no longer held in a clenched fist of isolation. They are held in an open palm of shared humanity. I recall a man named Ben, a contractor who saw himself as tough and pragmatic. He scoffed at soft practices. After a bitter dispute with a business partner left him angry and sleepless, his daughter convinced him to just try something. Each morning, while shaving, he would look in the mirror and mutter, "Okay, mate. Have an okay day." That was it. His version of metta. He said the anger didn't disappear, but it lost its heat. It became a background ache instead of a burning fire. One morning, weeks later, he found himself picking up the phone and leaving a neutral, business-like message for his former partner to tie up a loose end. The call was returned in kind. The war was over, not with a truce, but with a simple cessation of hostility. It began with those mumbled words in the mirror. Ben's practice was clumsy, imperfect, and utterly effective. It changed the trajectory of his life by changing the quality of his heart. Compassion is not a mood you wait for. It is a direction you choose. Your morning ritual is when you set that direction. You may not feel a surge of love. That's fine. You are laying the tracks. The train of compassionate action will run on them later, often when you least expect it. From this open, compassionate heart, a new kind of vision becomes possible. When you are no longer armored in self-concern, you begin to see the world not as a series of threats and resources, but as a tapestry of fragile, interconnected beauty. This seeing is the essence of gratitude. And so, in our next part, we will explore how gratitude flows naturally from a compassionate heart. Not as a list of good things, but as a profound, joyful recognition of the sheer, unlikely miracle of being alive at all. Let us continue this gentle unfolding. Feel the soft space within your chest, perhaps still resonating from our exploration of compassion. That open-heartedness is fertile ground. And in this ground, when we pause and look with clear eyes, something beautiful and inevitable begins to sprout: gratitude. Not the kind you jot on a list, but a deeper, more pervasive sense of wonder, a recognition of the sheer, fragile, stunning fact of existence itself. In the whirlwind of daily life, gratitude can feel like a chore, another item on the self-improvement checklist. Name 3 things you're grateful for. But in the Buddha's teachings, gratitude, katanuta, is not an exercise. It is a form of insight. It arises naturally when we see clearly the truth of anicca, impermanence, and paticcasamuppada, interdependent origination. When we understand that everything is transient and that everything is connected, the very fact that we have this breath, this sight, this warm cup, this moment free from acute pain, becomes astonishing. It is not that we should be grateful. It is that when the clouds of taking for granted part, we are grateful. It is our natural state of seeing. Think of your awareness as a lens. Most of the time, a film of habituation coats that lens. We see our home, our partner, the tree outside our window, and they register as familiar objects, barely noticed. The practice of morning gratitude is the gentle polishing of that lens. It is not about adding positive thoughts, but about removing the film of indifference so that the inherent wonder of what is already here can shine through. I want to tell you about a woman named Clara, a botanist who specialized in Arctic mosses. She spent months in extreme isolation, in a landscape most would call barren and harsh. I asked her once if she struggled with loneliness or despair. She smiled and said, "Despair. When I wake in my tent, the first thing I do is listen. I listen for the sound of my own breath, which means I'm alive. Then I listen for the wind, which means the planet is turning. Then I look for the faint green of a moss, which means life is insanely, stubbornly persistent. My day is built on that." Clara's gratitude wasn't for a comfortable bed or a good meal, those were absent. Her gratitude was for the fundamental conditions of existence: life, movement, and resilience. She had polished her lens to such clarity that the barren landscape revealed itself as a cathedral of miracles. Her morning practice was simply to notice them. This is the invitation. To notice the miracles that familiarity has rendered invisible. Your morning gratitude can be this deep. It doesn't require dramatic circumstances. It requires a shift in focus. Instead of starting with a mental list, start with your senses. This is gratitude in the body, not just the mind. As you lie in bed or sip your water, engage in a sense-based inventory. Hearing. What is the first sound you hear? The hum of the refrigerator. A distant bird. The rustle of sheets. Instead of labeling it as noise, hear it as evidence of a world in motion, of life persisting. Thank you, ears, for bringing me this news of the alive world. Touch. Feel the texture of your blanket. The cool side of the pillow. The solid floor under your feet. These are messages of comfort, support, containment. Thank you, skin, for this conversation with the world. Sight. Notice the play of light, even if it is from a digital clock. The subtle colors in the pre-dawn gray. The familiar shape of a doorframe. Thank you, eyes, for translating light into form. Taste. The clean taste of water. The lingering memory of last night's toothpaste. Thank you, mouth, for this gateway of flavor. Smell. The unique scent of your own home. The faint aroma of coffee from another room. Thank you, nose, for this invisible map of memory and safety. This sense-based practice roots gratitude firmly in the present moment, in the actual felt experience of being alive. It moves you from thinking about your life to feeling into it. From this embodied thankfulness, the heart naturally expands. You might feel gratitude for the functioning of your body, for the heart that pumps without being asked, the lungs that exchange air, the immune system that fought off a million invisible invaders while you slept. This isn't narcissism, it's awe. You are the custodian of an astoundingly complex, self-regulating organism. And then, wider still, gratitude for the conditions that allow your life. The stability of the ground, the presence of clean air and water, however compromised, they are still here for you now, the social contract that means you likely won't be attacked when you leave your home, the countless people, from farmers to sewer workers to electrical grid operators, whose unseen labor forms the invisible scaffolding of your day. This practice has a powerful neuropsychological effect. It directly counters the brain's innate negativity bias, its evolutionary tendency to scan for threats and problems. By consciously directing attention to the supportive, the functional, and the beautiful, you build new neural pathways. You are not denying problems, you are balancing your perception. You are building an inner reservoir of enoughness that you can draw from when challenges arise. Research shows consistent gratitude practice increases resilience, improves sleep, and enhances feelings of social connection. Let me share a story about a man named David, a veteran who struggled with PTSD. His mornings were often hijacked by memories and anxiety. A therapist suggested he try something simple. For 1 week, the moment he woke up and felt the panic rising, he was to find one single, true, physical fact to be grateful for. The first day, through clenched teeth, he thought, "The blanket is soft." That was it. The next day, "My chest is rising and falling." Another day, "The light is yellow on the wall." He said it felt meaningless at first, like throwing a pebble into a stormy sea. But after a week, he noticed something. The pebble-throwing moment created a tiny, almost imperceptible pause between the trigger and the tsunami. In that pause, he could take a breath. The gratitude wasn't curing him. It was giving him a foothold, a piece of solid ground in the flood. It was the polish beginning to work on his lens, allowing a sliver of the present moment to shine through the horror of the past. This is the protective, strengthening power of genuine gratitude. It grounds you in what is real and good and here, right now, which is the only place where healing or peace can ever be found. Your morning gratitude can be as simple as David's. It doesn't need to be profound. It needs to be true. Feel the truth of, the water from the tap is cold and clear. Let that truth resonate in your body. That is enough. That is a miracle. From this place of grounded, heartfelt recognition, of the self, of the body, of the interconnected web of life, we find ourselves standing firmly in the present moment. We are no longer leaning into the future with anxiety or dragging the past behind us. We are here. And this here-ness is the final, and perhaps greatest, gift of the morning. It is the platform from which every other practice arises and to which it returns, mindful presence. But to understand this presence not as a passive state, but as a dynamic, creative force, we must look at one final, unifying principle. And that is where our journey will turn next. Let us continue, gathering all the threads we have gently pulled. The anchor of breath, the compass of intention, the temple of the body, the communion of the meal, the expanse of the compassionate heart, the clear lens of gratitude. Now, we come to the loom where these threads are woven together. This is not another practice to add, but the space in which all practice arises, the boundless field of mindful presence. We often speak of being present as if it is a destination we arrive at, a special state we achieve after enough meditation. But the Buddha's radical teaching on mindfulness, sati, points to something more fundamental and more readily available. Sati means remembrance, recollection. It is the capacity to remember to come back from the stories of the past, back from the fantasies of the future, back to the actual, living reality of this sensed moment. Morning is the prime time for this remembering, for this homecoming. It is when the slate of your attention is most clean, before the day's script has been fully written. Imagine your awareness is a vast, clear sky. This sky is your true nature, spacious, aware, and inherently peaceful. Your thoughts, emotions, and sensations are the weather that passes through this sky. A storm of anxiety, a shower of memory, a bright cloud of joy. We spend our lives identifying with the weather, believing, I am the storm, or I must hold on to this sunshine forever. We forget the sky. Mindfulness is the remembrance of the sky. It is the profound, liberating shift from being lost in the experience to being wisely aware of the experience. The morning ritual, in its entirety, is your daily training in being the sky. This is not a passive witnessing. It is an engaged, intimate familiarity. When you feel the breath, you are feeling the sky feeling the wind. When you set an intention, you are the sky deciding the quality of light it will hold. When you move with awareness, you are the sky expressing itself through form. When you eat mindfully, you are the sky receiving the earth. When compassion and gratitude arise, they are the natural, radiant qualities of the sky itself, unobstructed, inclusive, clear. I want to share a story about a master clockmaker I read about years ago. He was renowned for repairing the most intricate antique timepieces. His workshop was a chaos of ticking, a cacophony of different rhythms. An apprentice asked him how he could possibly work in such noise. The old man smiled, took out his stethoscope, and placed it on a tiny, 300-year-old watch. I do not listen to the noise, he said. I listen for the truth. Each mechanism has its own true rhythm, its essential tick. My job is not to silence the room, but to tune my ears so precisely that I can find that one true rhythm amidst everything else. Then he pointed to his own chest. The first clock I listen to each morning is my own. I find its true rhythm. Then, I can find the truth in any other. Your morning practice is this. You are the clockmaker. The world is a chaos of ticking, demands, notifications, worries, pleasures. Your practice is not to silence the world, an impossible task. It is to tune the exquisite instrument of your own attention so precisely that you can find your own true rhythm, the rhythm of presence, and from that centered place, engage with all the other rhythms without losing yourself. So how do we weave this all together into a cohesive morning? It is not a rigid sequence, but a fluid dance. Some mornings you may have 20 minutes. Some mornings you may have 3. The structure is not what matters. The orientation matters. The orientation of homecoming. Let's envision a complete, yet flexible, morning tapestry. The first moments in bed. Consciousness returns. Before the eye of planning and remembering fully coalesces, there is a gap. Seize this gap. Feel the breath. Feel the body against the mattress. Do the body scan from toes to crown. This is you, the sky, checking in with the territory of the physical world. No goals. Just feeling. The rising movement to the kitchen. As you rise, move with intention. Let the first steps be a walking meditation. Feel the transfer of weight. See the room as if for the first time. When you wash your face, feel the water. This is the sky inhabiting movement, cleansing not just the face but the film of sleep from awareness. The anchor, your chosen spot. Perhaps you sit with your tea by a window. This is your daily appointment with the sky. Here you take your 3 conscious breaths, arriving fully. You set your intention, a word, a quality for the sky to hold. You might do a brief metta practice, radiating care from the sky to yourself, to a loved one, to all beings. You might feel gratitude for one sensory detail, the steam rising from the cup, the pattern of light on the floor. This may take 2 minutes or 10. This is your tuning session. The nourishment breakfast. You eat, as we discussed, slowly with appreciation. You are the sky, receiving the gifts of the earth, transforming them into the energy of awareness. The transition, preparing to leave. As you brush your teeth, get dressed, gather your things, you practice continuity of awareness. The sky does not vanish when you stop formally sitting. You carry that spacious, clear quality with you. When the mind races ahead to the first meeting, you gently note planning and feel the breath in your belly. You come back to the sky. You tie your shoes with full attention. This is the integrated practice. It is mindfulness in motion. It is not a separate meditation time and then real life. It is the infusion of meditative awareness into the very substance of your morning, making all of it sacred preparation. I recall a conversation with a kindergarten teacher named Sophia. She said her mornings used to be a frantic race to get herself and 2 children ready. She felt she had no time for any practice. Then she reframed it. Brushing my daughter's hair became my meditation, she said. I feel the texture of her curls. I hear her small stories. I see the morning light on her cheek. Getting their breakfast became my gratitude practice. I'm so grateful they are here, healthy, hungry. The chaotic walk to school is my walking meditation, holding small hands, noticing the seasons change in the neighbors' gardens. Sophia didn't add a single minute to her routine. She changed the quality of attention she brought to the routine. She found the sky within the storm of motherhood. She wove presence into the fabric of her necessary tasks. This is available to you. Whether your morning is solitary or crowded, quiet or chaotic, the sky of awareness is equally present. Your practice is to remember it, to return to it, again and again. This repeated returning is what builds the neural pathways of resilience. It's what the Buddha called bhavana. Cultivation, mental development. Now, as we near the completion of our exploration, we must address the final, beautiful step, how this cultivated presence, this sky-like awareness, naturally expresses itself as you step out your door and into the world. For the ultimate purpose of a peaceful morning is not to create a bubble of isolation, but to forge a heart and mind so clear and stable that they can meet the world with wisdom, compassion, and unshakable calm. This is where our personal ritual becomes a gift to everyone you meet. But that is the final movement of our symphony. And so we arrive at the threshold. You are seated in the clear sky of your morning awareness. You have breathed, intended, moved, nourished, and opened your heart. The rituals are complete. Now, you stand up. You open the door. The world awaits with all its noise, its demands, its beauty, and its chaos. This is the moment of integration. This is where your sacred morning meets the secular day, and transforms it. The true test of any practice is not the peace you feel in the quiet, but the peace you can carry into the noise. The Buddha did not teach withdrawal from the world, but a way of being in the world with radical freedom. Your morning has been a tuning, a calibrating of your most precious instrument, your own conscious presence. Now, you play the symphony of your day with that instrument. Do not expect perfection. The sky of your awareness will be covered by clouds, a flash of irritation in traffic, a wave of anxiety before a presentation, the dense fog of fatigue in the afternoon. This is not failure. This is the practice. Mindfulness is not about having a clear sky at all times. It is about knowing you are the sky, even when you cannot see blue. It is the quiet, internal remembering, this frustration is a passing weather pattern. I am the space in which it is passing. Each mindful morning builds a reserve of clarity, a bank account of calm. Throughout your day, you will make withdrawals. When the inbox pings relentlessly, you can pause for one conscious breath, a tiny withdrawal from your morning's deposit of presence. When a conversation grows tense, you can feel your feet on the floor, another small withdrawal, grounding you back in your body temple. You are not trying to be a monk on a mountaintop. You are a human being, using the quiet foundation of your morning to navigate the marketplace with more grace, more patience, and more genuine connection. This is how your personal ritual becomes a gift. You cannot directly give anyone else your peace. But you can become a person of peace. And a person of peace changes the atmosphere of every room they enter. Your calm in a crisis becomes a shelter for others. Your patient listening becomes a healing balm. Your compassionate response to difficulty becomes a lesson in possibility. The kindness you cultivated first for yourself overflows its banks and touches everyone you meet. Your mindful morning ripples outward in invisible, profound ways, making the world around you subtly softer, kinder, more awake. So tomorrow, when the dawn light touches your window, remember, you are not just starting a day. You are engaging in a gentle, revolutionary act of self-reclamation. You are choosing, for those precious minutes, to be the author of your inner world rather than its frantic editor. You are planting seeds of awareness that will bear fruit in the most ordinary moments, in the way you sip your coffee, hear a bird sing, meet a stranger's eyes, or weather a disappointment. Begin simply. One conscious breath before you reach for your phone. One moment of feeling your body. One sip of water truly tasted. That is enough. The path is built one mindful brick at a time. You have within you everything you need, the breath that anchors, the heart that intends, the body that moves, the senses that receive, the spirit that cares and gives thanks. The morning simply reminds you of this wholeness. Thank you for sharing this time and space at Monk's Temple. May the peace you cultivate within be a light for your path and a gentle warmth for our shared world.